You may have seen my or some other people's collections and thought to yourself, I want to collect those too, but where do I even start? In this video, I'm going to give you 5 different tips on how to start your resin collection. First things first, let's talk about the budget. Typically, not always, but for the most part, when you start collecting resins, you're going to be paying more for resin statues than you would for PVC figures. Whether it's due to the size or complexity of the statue, the added weight, or the edition size limitations, whatever it is, the cost is going to go up. As a good rule of thumb, 1/4 scale statues are on average between $500 to $600 plus shipping, which means you're getting one statue for the price of 2 to 3 figures. Now, if we're talking about licensed companies making statues, then that price is gonna go up even more. For example, if you're buying a statue from Prime One Studios, a company we'll talk about later in this video, the average price for a 1/4 scale statue is in the $1,200 range. That's a hefty price tag, and you have to be careful not to overbuy. A word of advice here, do not go into debt over statues. It's really easy to put deposits or pre-orders down, and then later on, when the bill comes due, you get hit with a hefty price tag. Speaking of pre-orders, most pre-orders for resins are anywhere from 10% to 25% of the total cost. And it's non-refundable, so if you decide you don't want it before it comes out, you have to forfeit that deposit. Plan your budget accordingly, take time saving it for statues that you want, and unless you have tons of extra money, spend responsibly. Now, the second thing we need to discuss is space. Resins take up way more space than PVC statues. Again, assuming we're talking about 1/4 scale or 1/3 scale statues, these things are massive. Most of my statues have a base that's at least 10 inches wide, plus being made of resin, they weigh way more than your typical PVC statue. That means detolfs are out. I know some people still use glass shells, but you're not catching me using glass shells with any of these statues. I've seen the nightmare pictures of what those things look like when they shatter. A popular alternative is using garage shelves. These things are made of metal and usually have a wood base which can hold a ton of weight. I use these IKEA Calyx shelves turned on their side and they seem to do just fine for me. So obviously bigger statues means less room to display. But another big problem that statue collectors have, that even PVC figure collectors run into, is box space. These things come in some of the biggest boxes and you gotta figure out where to put them. These boxes are significantly bigger than the statues themselves, and sometimes you'll even get multiple boxes for one statue. You better hope you have some sort of huge open basement to store all of those boxes in, or you're gonna be in trouble. Another alternative is using a storage unit. You can keep all of your boxes there, but I know some people don't like the idea of paying for box space. I get it, it's more money, but they have to go somewhere, and if you don't want them in your house, that's a good alternative. Be strategic with the space that you do have and make sure that you're planning ahead for any statues that you're gonna get in the future. I'm gonna take a quick break from the video and say thank you to the channel's first ever sponsor, Sakuraco. Figure collecting and Japan go hand in hand, so it only makes sense that Sakuraco is going to be the first sponsor for the channel. Sakuraco is a monthly snack box that brings you some of the best treats from Japan. This month is Sakura themed for the upcoming cherry blossom season. Each box is packed with authentic Japanese snacks, teas, and even a piece of tableware. You'll also get a booklet that has some information on each snack, where it was made, and even allergy information. As someone who went to Japan recently, getting a monthly snack box brings those memories rushing back. And the snacks are really good. I never come across anything that I don't like. The only downside is I don't get to keep them all for myself. Check out my link below to get one for yourself and enjoy the tastes of Japan. Now back to the video. Now, probably the biggest question that people have when they get into this is, how do you even go about getting these statues? Where do you get them from? Now, there's a ton of different websites to go over, way more than I can cover in this video, but I'm gonna tell you about a few that I've used and would recommend any new person getting into this hobby try. Now, not every website is legit, so make sure that you use one that you trust before spending your hard-earned money on these statues. We're gonna break these sites down into 2 categories, licensed statues and unlicensed statues. There's gonna be a little bit of overlap, but we'll start with licensed statues first. If you're buying licensed statues, you're often going with higher end studios and buying direct from the manufacturer. Some of my preferred websites to buy these statues from are Prime One Studios, J&D Studios, or Queen Studios. You'll also have good luck finding licensed statues at places like Sideshow, Big Bad Toy Store, and Spec Fiction. For unlicensed statues, I've had really good luck with Fanatic Anime Store. This is probably my go-to for 1/4 scale unlicensed resins, and I also like Favor GK. I've never bought from ORZ GK, but I've heard good things about that site as well. I know there's plenty more, Secret Compass, Kaio Nation. I've never bought from them personally, but the ones I just listed, ones that I have bought from and do trust and would recommend to you guys. Do your research, compare pricing, and then pick whichever website that you guys like the most. Tip number 4, patience is a virtue. you are going to be waiting a long time for some of these statues. For example, I waited over a year from the time that I pre-ordered my Prime 1 2B statue to the time that it shipped. Then shipping took an additional few months. By the time that I got it, it had been nearly a year and a half. Most of the statues will have at least 6 to 9 months from pre-order to release, plus shipping times, which, as I mentioned, can be very long. It's important that you take this into consideration because I'm just like you guys. Oftentimes I will order a statue based on the hype or a show or a game that I have been playing recently, and then by the time that it actually comes out, that hype is gone, and then I either don't have the same enjoyment or no longer am interested in that statue, and you have to cancel your pre-order, which means forfeiting that deposit. Also, you're dealing with unlicensed studios, which is like the Wild West. They'll say a statue will be ready to ship in Q4, but then there's delays, radio silence, and sometimes even cancellations, which is a major bummer. So make sure you know for sure that you want a statue before ordering, and then plan accordingly because it's gonna be a little while before you actually get it. My last tip for you guys, if you're getting into resin collecting, is prepare for all the maintenance that comes along with it. Dusting these statues can take quite a long time, but it's highly recommended in order to keep them in good shape. I'd recommend either an electric duster or using something like makeup brushes to clean the dust off. I would also avoid displaying them in spots that get a lot of direct sunlight, as sunlight can discolor the statue over time, and even on really hot days, you can get drooping or warping, which can ruin a statue. I'd also recommend to keep good care of your statues because a lot of people will buy and sell statues to each other within the community. And having a statue that's in pristine shape will help it sell for more, and you'll get a reputation as a good seller for delivering good, unbroken statues. Speaking of breaks, this is sort of a tip number 5.5, as it's not a matter of if it's going to happen to you, it's a matter of when. It's inevitable that at some point you will receive a statue that comes with a broken piece. Anything from small hair breaks to a cracked base, it's super annoying. And often there's not much you can do about it. Get really good with super glue because you're likely going to be fixing some of your own breaks at one point or another. You can try to reach out to the company that sold it to you to see if they can help get a replacement piece, but good luck. That process is tedious and oftentimes doesn't lead anywhere. If you take care of your statues, they'll hold their value for longer. Nobody wants a broken statue in their display, so make sure you keep them clean, take care of them, and they'll last a long time. Resin statues are amazing, and they're one of the coolest ways to own a piece of art from a show or a game that you love. Just be prepared to set your budget, plan out your space, pick your favorite store, prepare to wait, and then once you actually get your statue, take good care of it. If you get these steps down, then you're all set. Welcome to the hobby and happy collecting. If you guys like this video, drop a like down below. It helps the channel way more than you may think. Leave a comment if you have any additional tips that you want to share with the community. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you Sakuraco again for sponsoring this video. Consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next Figure Friday.